All right, here we go.
Hello there. Obi Wan Kenobi. Now, I was so hyped for this show when they first announced it. When I saw Ewan McGregor coming back and then seeing Hayden Christensen coming back, I was just like, oh shit, I cannot wait. This is my most anticipated show of the year. There was nothing I was more hyped for the entire year except for Obi Wan Kenobi, the Disney Plus series. Now they did mention it actually that now when it came out that it was supposed to be a movie trilogy, which I feel like, yeah, I can actually see like they could have added more in this series, like, and have a movie trilogy would be a lot of fun. Now this will be a spoiler review of Kenobi. This is how I like to see it. I'm not gonna scream, but you know, the Darth Maul scream that we get, like, it's so great. But this show was so great. I must say all the performances are so great in this show, and I do love now this show picks up 10 years after Revenge of the Sith, and we get to see Obi-Wan you can really see Obi-Wan living this normal life in this meat factory, but you can see he still has, you know, he has PTSD, he has a lot of guilt, a lot of, you know, pain still, you know, for basically feeling responsible for failing Anakin and, you know, believing that Anakin is dead, you know, and leaving his brother, his friend, you know, that he failed him, that everything got destroyed. It can really feel like the pain that Obi-Wan still goes through and suffers through all this time. Now, we also find out more about Leia Organa this time, which is actually nice to see. We don't actually get to see Alderaan on how people live there, actually anything, and like, except for this one quick scene in Revenge of the Sith, where she's delivered as a baby. That's all we get, basically. And I do love to see Senator Bail Organa back. I was like, yeah, I was so happy to see him back, and I love seeing young Leia, how she's rebellious, how she prefers to be running wild throughout the woods and, you know, being free except for being a senator, which was so great. And all the scenes with her are really great. She does give a good performance in the show, I must really say. And Senator Bail Organa, I love this character so much. Like, he's so great in this show. Then, like I said, the stories, you know, Obi-Wan and Tatooine, and you also feel like, you know, there's a lot of tension between him and Owen, where, you know, we get this great line where he says, you know, like you trained his father, which also kind of shows, I really love, like, this, you know, this shows, like, Obi-Wan, you know, is like fixated on having this one thing, like, yeah, Luke is so important, but like, you know, kind of realizing, like, dude, maybe it's not the best choice to let Luke do the exact same thing like he did his father. Like, you see what happened, you know, because like Yoda warned us all, like, this boy is dangerous, clouded his future is. At the first episode, I really loved, we get to see, like, you know, he really gets to see this trauma behind him. Now, we also get the Inquisitors with the Grand Inquisitor, the fifth brother, and the third brother played by, the third sister played by Moses Ingram, which were a lot of fun. I really like the Inquisitors in the show. Now, we do get the Inquisitor, of course, in Clone Wars and in Rebels, and I do like Moses Ingram as the third sister, and I really like her story arc throughout the movie, throughout the show, what I thought was very interesting. And yes, her character is very hot-headed, very impulsive, but like, there's a lot of Star Wars characters that are that way, actually, I must say. But I do love the Grand Inquisitor, where he gives a speech kind of in this bar where he says, you know, the key of hunting Jedi? Patience. I do love him. Now, when he does get killed, like, kind of in the second episode, it's kind of like, yeah, maybe, I think he will be back, probably. Because, like I said, he got stabbed in one of his stomachs. Like I said, episode 1 was really great to see, you know, Obi-Wan, because Leia got kidnapped by these two, where I must say, yeah, that foot sequence, Leia gets kidnapped, of course, by Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, of all people. I was just like, yo, I love seeing Flea in the shows. Like, I was excited to see him. But, like, that chase in the woods, like, yeah, that was pretty bad. I mean, that child ran so slow. I was like, you have 3 adults. Like, just grab that child. Stop wasting time. Like, I knew they was trying to make it interesting. Like, they could have made that foot chase better if, like, you would have her, like, hiding and going through, like, narrow spaces which they can't get through, which would make sense. I think they did that once in this foot sequence, but a lot of times they just, like, doing this. I was like, stop doing this and just grab her, which they then finally do. And that's what actually, you know, kind of sets Obi-Wan on a mission again when Senator Bail Organa tells him like, help Leia. And I love that line that he says to Obi-Wan when Obi-Wan says, my duties to the boy, and he says, what about his sister? His sister's just important as him, which I really love this notion, because Obi-Wan kind of just like, forgot about Leia and just focused on Luke, but kind of made him realize, no, like she's also just as important as Luke Skywalker. And I really loved seeing young Luke on the farm pretending to be pod racing and everything. And I do love seeing that Obi-Wan has to find himself, because a lot of people are talking about, in the show, like, well, how this Obi-Wan is very sad, depressed, and it's like, how does this Obi-Wan is not the same in A New Hope? And you do get to see this direction, like at the end of the show, like, okay, at the end of the show, it's the Obi-Wan, it's starting to become the Obi-Wan that we get to know in A New Hope, that is more joyful in life. Like I said, the second episode was really cool, when we also Kuna Nanjiani. His character is alright. I mean, it's kind of fun seeing him as this Jedi scammer where he's just like, oh, yes, no, of course. And don't forget the credits, which is a lot of fun. I do love that we get to see like different planets and Obi-Wan and Leia's dynamic throughout the show, where she doesn't trust him and ask all these questions. It was just really great. Like I said, Ewan McGregor is also great, such a great performance as Obi-Wan. It's like, it's even better than in the prequels, where you always give a great performance. But I must say, I don't like that we get like only Vader in the very end of episode 2 and episode 3. I wish there would have been more Vader in the show, which I kind of feel like I can understand him not being in the first episode, but in the second episode I really want to see him more, not just the last 30 seconds, which I must say epic to see Vader in this back to tank looking mean as hell. And I do love we get to see Vader suit up with all this body parts, everything attached to him, and him running. I do wish we could have a little bit more Vader, like more Vader in the castle. I kind of feel like they kind of cut it down a little bit, but the story that they tell is actually very good, and I really like that Obi-Wan's trying to get Leia back to Alderaan, and a lot of shenanigans happen. And I feel like episode 3 was finally like, okay, this is the stuff that all the fans been waiting for, to see Obi-Wan versus Vader. And I do love that moment when Obi-Wan realizes, like when the third sister tells him that Anakin is alive, and he has a realization like, Anakin is alive, and this notion, and when he's in that hiding in that cabin, and then all of a sudden he feels Vader's presence. I love that sequence. It's done, acted so great by you in this when he feels Vader's presence, and you can see this fear, literal fear in his eyes and in his face, where he cannot believe that he is alive and what he's seen before him. And I love that build up of Vader where he walks through. This is a show. This is the good thing. This show did something which none of the movies really did for me. Actually, it's like to really show Vader as a scary presence. Like, because before, I always saw Vader as a powerful villain. He's very cool, except for maybe that sword scene in Rogue One where we get to see him. Oh, okay, but like this show really shows like that Vader is terrifying. Like now I'm terrified of Vader. Like, because you can really feel like when he walks through, like you don't mess around. You want to get the hell out of there. I love that sequence where Vader just like feels Kenobi's presence and then just decides to choke somebody, snap a kid's neck, and then just like drag somebody to the ground with the Force. I was just like, yes, this is what we wanted to see. As Vader being brutally rageful. This is what Hayden said, that this is a really rageful, brutal, angry Vader, in which they do utilize on that notions. But I really love, like, you really can feel like Vader is a threatening and really scary presence, which I really haven't felt before in the other movies. And they really did a great job of showing that and putting it in their show. When we have the first battle, I do love where Vader's toying with Obi-Wan because he wants to make him suffer. And we get this cool lightsaber battle, where Obi-Wan struggles and Vader's just toying with him. And then we get this cool sequence where Vader burns Obi-Wan, which I feel like that's great payback. That's actually fun writing. Like, now you will suffer, and just drags him to the fire. I was just like, yes, give me more, please. But there's also like a dumb point kind of in this episode 3, because he has this little fire which he puts out with the Force, but then Talia shoots like a bigger fire happens. But I feel like, why did Vader let Obi-Wan go? Because he said, bring him to me. So like, I don't know why Vader let Obi-Wan go, because that fire wasn't that big. I mean, Vader could have walked through the fire because Vader's suit is fireproof, and that's canon in comics. So because that's one of the main goals that Vader wanted, like to have his suit be waterproof, or when he goes on the water, his suit is basically indestructible. So having him stop and not go through this fire was kind of weird, or not just use the Force to pull Obi-Wan to him, or have the fire separated anyway was kind of weird. The only explanation I really think why he did that is because he knew he inflicted fear in Obi-Wan, he hurt Obi-Wan, and now he wants Obi-Wan, you know, to let him suffer, let him deal with this pain that he just caused him, and kind of have like this cat and mouse game going on with him. I don't know why, because I feel like that's the only explanation I can find reasonable, that he let Obi-Wan go because he wants Obi-Wan to think that he has like a moment to breathe, and then just to make him more tormented in some way. I feel like that's the only reason why I think he let him go, because if not, it's just like a dumb reason. He's so focused on getting Kenobi that he's just right there and just like blow that fire out with the Force and just go and grab him. Unless, like I said, he wanted to let him suffer slowly, you know, bit by bit. And then, of course, when we get to the 4th episode, which was very cool. Also, I forgot to mention, we get Quinlan Vos mentioned in episode 3, which I feel like, yes, please. I was really hoping to see Quinlan Vos in the show, or maybe in season 2, we would get to see Quinlan Vos, because I was excited when you see Quinlan was here. I was like, yes. We only got to see him briefly in Phantom Menace in the background when Qui-Gon, Padme, and R2 and Jar Jar and Anakin are walking through the Tatooine. You can see him in the bar, like briefly as a cameo in the background. But like really cool, we got to see episode 4, which was really cool. Really felt like a video game, which was really cool. I love to see, that was the first time we also got to see Obi-Wan kind of get back into his groove with the lightsaber, which is just like, I loved every second of that episode. Infiltrating the base of operations from the Inquisitors, it was just done so great. I really loved that level. I loved Obi-Wan, you know, holding the water with the Force, and then, you know, deflecting lightsabers, deflecting bolts, and just like kind of getting back into his pose groove and everything. Is just like, it was a really fun episode, I must say. And I do love the interrogation part with Leia and Reva that they have, where you can really show like when Reva tries to do that mind trick where Leia's just, is this a staring contest? Which could actually show like how powerful she also is in the Force, but not knowing it was actually done very great. And I do love the sequences. Now I do must say, I don't know how nobody noticed Obi-Wan hiding Leia in his coat like that when everybody's on high alert to look at anything suspicious. I can feel like, does nobody see that kid? Like, hello, Obi-Wan walking right there. Don't nobody see that kid? Nope. No, okay, we're just gonna ignore it. I kind of feel like, yeah, they could have done a little bit better job with that. Also, when Reva starts to deflect with her lightsaber blasters from a ship, I was like, I don't know if that's possible with a lightsaber, because I understand with a blaster you can deflect bolts, but like from a ship, I don't know, maybe it could be. It was kind of like, I'm not really quite sure about this, which was like, but it was still a very fun episode. Also, I love to see Roku, you know, he was really cool to see him. We get to see like a little bit more of the rebel underground, you know, and kind of like the building of the rebellion, I think was set up to be like the beginning of somewhat of the rebellion. Then we get to see that later in the New Hope and in the original trilogy. But then we get to episode 5 and I was just like, ooh. I was not ready to see episode 5, because like from the jump, we start with a flashback with Hayden Christensen on Coruscant, and I was just like, oh, I stopped. Like, you cannot just hit me like that with those emotions. And to see Ewan and Hayden back in Attack of the Clones, one of my personal favorites. And yes, Attack of the Clones is one of my favorite Star Wars movies, because I remember seeing that movie as a little kid in cinemas, and just like, I was a big fan of Star Wars, but after seeing Attack of the Clones, really made me obsessed and really changed my love for Star Wars forever. I love every aspect of that movie. That movie as a little kid, seeing everything, seeing Jango Fett, seeing the fight with Count Dooku. For me, the biggest highlight was when Yoda got that lightsaber and started flipping and fighting. I was just like, it's over. This movie is great. I love the relationship, and I loved Hayden performances as Anakin from day one. I always loved that movie. So seeing that flashback with Ewan and Hayden, Obi-Wan, Attack of the Clones, like have this training session, and I do love this episode. The way this episode 5 and 6 are the best episodes of the series. There's no doubt of that. But I like every episode because I like the story that it tells, and I love the moments that it builds up to. But I love episode 5. You know, when they are close in this hangar, and this training sequence that they have, this training fight with Anakin and Obi-Wan that they have, how it deflects the situation which they're in now. Like every time Obi-Wan has the upper hand in training sequence, we get to see Obi-Wan now helping the people and getting dunked. But anytime Anakin has a upper hand, we see Vader getting the upper hand on them. And I love this parallel that's going back and forth between, and all the lessons that actually Obi-Wan tells Anakin. It's like if he would listen to Obi-Wan then, everything he tells him is everything he needs to know to beat Obi-Wan in Revenge of the Sith. But like he says, he's too impulsive, where Anakin says mercy does not defeat the enemy. And that's actually, this is the reason why you keep losing, because he's just like, he's not in there involved, he's not thinking, he's just thinking on winning and winning and winning, and he's not focused on the fight, or he's not focused on the fight all in general. Now we do get to find out more about Reva, that she's a youngling, that she witnessed Order 66, and that she survived, and she was basically working up her ranks to be the Grand Inquisitor, to basically kill Vader, which I actually really liked. I really liked that storyline, that she would kind of actually shows like her character, that she started off as a youngling, and then her main reason was to get into the dark side and get on Vader's side, basically, to be the best, to kill him, basically. But also in the way of doing that, she kind of became consumed by the dark side, and that's why she did so many terrible things. And I love that, this notion that she later has, like, have I become the same person as Vader? And with this, in episode 6, but in episode 5, what I really love, like, this dynamic, like I said, with the training sequences, the way it interacts with the episodes. I really love the fight sequences that we do get, and I love the conversation that Obi-Wan has with Reva, where Reva tells, like, the reason, like, why weren't you there? Where were you when he attacked us? Well, actually, I would say, well, bitch, I was fighting General Grievous, and I was attacked by my own clones, and I was running. I was just like, Obi-Wan, like, was gone. He was disappeared. He was other stuff to do in Revenge of the Sith. And we do get this cool, like, battle sequences, which was very cool. And then Talia dies, which is a very emotional scene, was actually very good. And then we get to see, like, this episode has some of the best Vader action that I've seen in a very long time. This in episode 6, but, like, when Vader, that's what I love. Every time we see Vader, he's a really threatening, scary presence. The best thing that the show did is really showed Vader as a scary presence. Like I said, in episode 3, even just in episode 2, when we just see him in the back of the tank, like, that's a scary dude. Like, you do not want to mess with him. And I love how rageful he just starts walking and then rips open the door and just grabs that ship. And it's like, when he grabs that shit, I was just like, oh shit. I was like, yes, this is like a lot of Jedi Fallen Order, a lot of Starkiller, when he did also with the big Imperial ship. I was just like, yes, give us more of that. That was so open. When he rips open the ship with the Force, I was just like, yes. I think every fan was just like, yes, give me more. Oh, we want more. And then we get such an awesome fight with Vader and the Third Sister, where she tries to attack him, and and Vader doesn't even use his lightsaber, which I also feel like is the biggest disrespect you can give in a fight. But I also feel like it's actually, that's the way it's supposed to be, because Reva had no chance against Vader. No way. And you can barely see, like, this dude has robotic limbs and arms. He cannot move that good and still move like vroom, 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 and just use the Force, basically toying with her and then just ending her off. And it was just like, it was such a great moment. I love that fight sequences also. And I love when the Grand Inquisitor came back. It's like, hello. Now, the reason that said why Reva survived Order 66 is because her rage, because she was so rageful, she, that kept her alive. And I can see, okay, yeah, that does make sense, because that's also the same thing that kept Maul alive. But my problem is Reva got stabbed as a youngling, and I don't think she would have, like, the amount of power or rage, or, like, I would say, like, she wasn't old enough to have, like, this rage power basically to keep her life and going. Like, she should have been dead, especially when she got stabbed. When I have this parallel again of watching her Anakin in Order 66. Also, I'm gonna say, every time we get to see Order 66, it's just pure magic, because we never got to see Order 66 from the Jedi Temple, and this time we get to see so much more. Like, even in the first episodes during the opening sequence, we get to see Order 66, which was just beautiful. I love, just like, give me more of Order 66 from the Jedi Temple. And we do get to see her, you know, being there and being stabbed by Anakin, but I don't think as a youngling she would have the power, as you know, to use that rage to survive. She would have died, which I think would have been a better choice, is to have her hide somewhere and you know, hide her somewhere, and then she sees Anakin kill her friends. And I feel like that would have been a more better explanation, because like I do get kind of annoyed that people get stabbed in this Star Wars universe and just survive. It's just like, well, why does Qui-Gon die? Why did he die? I mean, he didn't want to die, he wanted to train Anakin. It's like, no, Qui-Gon died, he got stabbed once, he died. But everybody else who gets stabbed, yeah, they can survive. I was just like, no, that doesn't make sense. I was like, Disney, you need to learn about lightsabers and how they actually work. It's like, when you get stabbed with a lightsaber, yes, there's a slight chance you can survive, but when you get stabbed to your main organs, like, yeah, you're not gonna survive. I mean, yes, the Grand Inquisitor, you know, he's a more powerful being and he's very strong in the dark side, and I would say Grown Reaver could survive, but I feel like she should have died there. I mean, should have died as a youngling, because it makes no sense that a youngling would have been died, that Anakin couldn't kill a youngling. I mean, he's the youngling slayer, okay? Like, that's I think, like, the biggest point, like they didn't understand, like, yo, as a youngling she would have died. If this would have happened to her now, yes, she could have survived, but I think it would have been better if she would have just hid from somewhere in the corner and seen her friends get killed, which I think would have been a better, because it makes me so mad. It's like, why it makes Qui-Gon death, you know, not count, kind of lowers Qui-Gon's death and sacrifice, basically, you know, from the Phantom Menace, because now everybody gets stabbed and they're perfectly fine. Which is like, no, once you get stabbed, you die, basically. And unless you're a powerful Sith Lord or a powerful Jedi where you can use rage to keep you alive, basically. Like, that's my gripe what I have basically with Reva's character, like how she survived Order 66, because she should have been dead long time ago. But this time now we get to episode 6, where we finally get the battle, which I must say, like, it's one of the most epic battles I have seen in a long time. And I love Obi-Wan, where he just goes, well, Darth Vader says him, "Are you here to destroy me?" And Obi-Wan just like, "I will do what I must," and give us the classic pose. I was just like, yes, this is what we want. And then we get this very cool, awesome sequences where they fight with Vader, you know, battling, fighting each other. And I do love that they use the environment around them during this fight sequence. Like, Vader uses rocks to throw at him, and at one point Vader gets the high ground. And now also at the same time Reva is at, you know, she finds out about Luke and Leia, which I also feel like, yeah, why did Senator Bail Organa message Obi-Wan and tell him, did you know, it gives a message and not sure if Obi-Wan's gonna get it, and like tells, like, yeah, did he find out about the kids? I was like, dude, don't you dare send a message out there. If anybody finds it, they're gonna kill him. And that's what basically happens. It was kind of a dumb move by Senator Bail Organa, I must say. But, you know, Reva's on Tatooine looking for Luke, trying to kill Luke, trying to get his revenge like that on Vader, you know, because by killing Luke, basically Vader killed her friend, she wanted to kill her son, basically. But I do love this fight sequences with Emperor, who's a badass. He's like, we don't need nobody, we got this. Which I do love that fight sequence, Uncle Owen and Emperor. And I do love this notion where Uncle Owen says that, like, Obi-Wan is nowhere to be seen, and Emperor says, well, who fought his dad? Which actually makes sense. It's like, dude, you were the one who always told him to stay away, don't come near us, leave us alone, basically, you know. And now when you actually need his help, he's not there. See, that's your fault, kind of. And I do love the fight sequences. I love the battles that they have with Reva, basically, there, where Reva wounded, you know. And then I do love the notion where Reva, you know, then later hunts Luke, and then she sees herself when she's about to execute Luke. And I love that she has this pull to the light side again, where she couldn't do it. And this question that he has, you know, when she tells Obi-Wan, have I become him or just as bad as him? And I love the way he comforts her when he says, no, by the action you have chosen, by the choice you have made, you are not just like Anakin. So that was a cool, and I do love that story arc of her. Still questionable how she survived Order 66, but her as a youngling, you know, then ranking up the ranks, trying to kill Anakin, but then later, you know, saving Luke and going back to the light side. Now, when it comes to the most emotional points, where I say emotional damage times a million, is when the fight continues and we get to see Vader have the high ground for a split second. I was just like, I wish you had said, it's over, I have the high ground, which it would have been the fit, but I was like, I would cheer so much if Darth Vader would have said that. And we get the most emotionally damaged moment when he cuts open Vader's helmet, which just looks so epic, and we get to see Hayden's face. And I do love that the voice keeps going in and out to Hayden and Vader. I'm so happy that James Earl Jones came back as Vader, that he continued to do Vader. I mean, the dude's like 92 years old and still going strong as Vader. I was like, yes. That short exchange that they had between the characters is just like so emotional and so sad. I mean, when Obi-Wan says, "I'm sorry, Anakin," for all of it. And just like to see basically Obi-Wan break down and finally be confronted with this guilt that he has, and the way Anakin responds is like, "I am not your failure, Obi-Wan. You didn't kill Anakin Skywalker. I did," which I really love like this. And I loved in this whole sequence, like you have to watch Darth Vader's face, because when it turns blue, it's the for a split moment we get to see Anakin back. And it's the same thing happened when Anakin fought, Ahsoka in Rebels, like when she cuts open his helmet, and for a split second, we get to see Anakin back, and then it goes back to rageful Vader, which I really love. Like when he talks with Obi-Wan, you can really see that Vader's still conflicted with the light side and the dark side. That's why it always goes from blue to red. But then finally Vader gets enraged and he goes back into the dark side. And I do really think like the reason why Vader lost is because he was so conflicted. He wasn't fully in one part of the dark side. He was always to, dark side, light side, and that's why he wasn't balanced, and that's why he lost. That's why Obi-Wan got the upper hand. Also, I think Obi-Wan is a more smarter fighter, which I think Anakin is the more powerful fighter, but Obi-Wan is a smarter fighter. Also, we have to think like Anakin. If Anakin is in a Vader suit, I mean, he lost his limbs. Like, he had to learn how to walk, how to walk, how to move, how to fight again. So he's not in the super top shape as he is like in A New Hope, like, or in Rogue One. Like, you can really tell like there's still like that's why I think also was kind of the point, one of the reasons why he didn't win against Obi-Wan. But I love that notion where he says, "You didn't kill Anakin Skywalker, I did." And I love that moment where Obi-Wan then realizes that my friend is truly dead. Goodbye, Darth. And it makes sense, because a lot of people were complaining, well, why, after when Revenge of the Sith happened and then A New Hope you would turn on, it's like, why Obi-Wan calls him Darth and not Anakin? For years people were talking about that, and this actually gives now, it enhances the story way more, because now we know the reason why, Obi-Wan does it, because at that moment he realized Anakin is gone and now only Darth Vader exists. That's why it fits when he says in A New Hope, "Only a master of evil, Darth, you are." So it was such emotional episodes, like to see that moment, it was just so emotionally. And then we see, of course, Leia back at Alderaan with her parents, and then we get to see Obi-Wan and Uncle Owen, soften up a little bit and not being that hard, and realizing that, yeah, we do need Obi-Wan around, because when stuff gets, bad, it's good to have a Jedi around. And I do love, we get to see Emperor Palpatine in the show. Ian McDiarmid is so great to see him back, and I do love the conversation that we had. I do really wish we had seen a little bit more of that, of Palpatine and Vader. I wish they could have given, like, in episode 3 or episode 2, a little bit more of Vader Palpatine, which would have been great. Emperor Palpatine tells him, like, the reason you lost is because you conflicted to focus too much on the past. And he just goes, "Kenobi means nothing." So I do was kind of mad at one point at the series, because like, if Qui-Gon Jinn doesn't show up in this show, I'm gonna flip the fuck out. And then we do get to see him, like, well, took you long enough. I was just like, yes, we got to see Qui-Gon. I was so happy. I was just like, yes. And I do love the reason why. It's like, I was always there. The reason you didn't see me, because you wasn't ready. And it makes true, because Obi-Wan was so focused on this guilt and pain and, conflicted this whole time that he didn't, he couldn't see Qui-Gon Jinn. And I do love this notion, well, come on, lots to learn. And then we get to see actually Mythos Obi-Wan, where he gets the goggles, the way he's dressed. And I do love that Ewan says to Luke, when he gives him the spaceship that Luke placed in A New Hope, I was like, "Hello there." I was like, finally! Yes, we got to see him. They kind of teased us with this in episode 3, where he says, "Well, aren't you gonna say hello?" Hello. I was like, ooh, you almost did that. But I do love the way it ends. For me, the ending is perfect to the show. It's where we get to see Anakin ride through the passage where Anakin rode the pod racing race, and we get to see, and I do want to see season 2 of Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn basically going on adventures together, and him learning kind of to be the way. Now I really hope we get to see a season 2. I'm going to give this whole entire series and 9 out of 10. I'm so satisfied with this Obi Wan Kenobi show. I'm so happy to see Hayden Christensen back. Mosén Ingram is great. Rupert Friend is great. Ewan McGregor is phenomenal in this show. Everybody, Ian McDermott, James Earl Jones, everybody gives such a great job in this show. Now yes, there are some aspects in the show where I think could have been a little bit better. Like I said, the one foot sequence, and I do wish we'd gotten a little bit more of Luke also, because I would like to see young Luke as a child also, but maybe in season 2 we would get. But it's fun to see also a little bit more about Leia in this show, and I really hope that we get a season 2, and I'm so happy with the show. I'm so happy to see Hayden back, and it was just a really great fun time. And let me know what you think about the show. Did you like it? Did you didn't like it? I love this show. I liked every episode. I like the way it builds up to stuff. And yeah, some of the parts are, like I said, I wish we would have got more Vader of it, which they were kind of promoting him. But I was like, I really hope we got to see, I wish we would have more Vader in the show. Like, that's my only gripe. The rest of the show I think is perfectly fine. I'm just so happy that we got a Disney Plus show where we got to see Hayden and Anakin back. And we got to see Ewan back, and it was just so great, and I really can't wait for more. And Deborah Cho really did a great job of directing the show, and it's really great to have everything from a single director's vision and not switch and everything. It really tells the story more consistently. Also, I didn't like that Mosén Ingram got a lot of hate for her character and started getting racial comments and racial bullying and everything. And it's like, we do not gonna start this again. So like, all the Star Wars actors have been through enough. I mean, Ahmed Best got driven to the point where he wanted to commit suicide. Hayden Christensen left acting for 10 years. Kelly Marie Tran got bullied harmlessly, massively. It's like, there's so many, I don't know why Star Wars fans keep bullying those actors so much. I mean, yes, it's understandable. You cannot like a character, you can critique a character. Bullying somebody online because of the color of the skin is not correct. And like, I love that Ewan said there's no place for racism in this world, and it's not even in this franchise. I mean, this is a world with aliens and creatures all around, and people still do stuff like that. But I really do think those are not Star Wars fans. I think those are just people that wants to keep the Star Wars fandom divided, because the only notion I've noticed, like, since the show got announced, that it reunited the fans again, and some people don't like this. Some people want to keep this war and distance and separation between the fans, which I feel like those are not Star Wars fans. I really don't think so. But yeah, let me know what you think about this show. Did you like it? Did you didn't like it? Like I said, you know my thoughts. I love this show, and thanks everybody for watching. As always, see you next time.